Welcome to this week's NCLog presentation with NCDOT OpenX Rollout Week. OpenX refers to the different Bentley Connect Edition brands. NCDOT is proud to partner with NC Department of Transportation to bring these different unit updates. This session is going to be on OpenBridge Modeler. But first, a few little housekeeping details for everybody. This is a webinar presentation, so all attendees will be muted. At any time during the webinar, feel free to submit questions into the chat box. I'll definitely field those and to Nick at the end, and we can definitely work through those towards the end of the presentation. We are recording this webinar, and we'll be sharing it on our website. NCLog is offering PDH credits to those who have registered online for the event. After the session, we'll send out PDH receipts to those who attend the live meeting, but no credit will be given to if you view it on our website later. If you have any problems, yesterday we had a few problems with screens freezing. We found that if you just jump out of the meeting and jump back in, that normally solves issues. But definitely hit us up in the chat if you're still having issues past that. Feel free I definitely said it. Definitely ask questions throughout the meeting, but we'll definitely open it up for questions at the end. So I will go ahead and introduce our speaker. We have Nicholas Pierce. He's from the Structures Management Unit. And with that, I will hand it over to him. Thanks for being with us this morning, Nick.
All right, thank you. Let me know if I'm going too fast or if something is unclear. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to start with sort of common acronyms and definitions. You're going to hear OBD, OBM, DT, LOD kind of thrown around a bit now. OBD is just an acronym for Open Bridge Designer. OBM is Open Bridge Modeler. DT we're calling Digital Twin. And LOD, Level of Design. All right, so what's the difference between OpenBridge Modeler and OpenBridge Designer? We're getting a lot of questions on that. OpenBridge Modeler is more of the 3D creation and 2D drafting software that we're kind of used to, that we kind of see in V8i. OpenBridge Designer now takes that OpenBridge Modeler and can take information from your model that you create, like a 3D model, and actually transfer that to the design software, which is incorporated, the LEAP software. And just to let you know, SMU is using OBD just because working with DIT, it was a whole lot easier to have one image and have one software installed on everyone's computers instead of having to decide and having multiple. Oop. All right, digital twin. Bentley uses the term model quite a bit, right? You have model space, you have models. We're just going to make it easy, and we're going to call it digital twin. And that's going to be our 3D representation of what we intend to design and have in the field. All right. Migration plan. Phase 1, we started back in January, trying to move people over to use OpenBridge Designer and just still do our 2D plan production. We started doing lunch and learn sort of internally and working on getting people familiar with using that. Phase 2, we started July 1st. All new projects from July 1st on, or if they were less than 75% complete, or if the project engineers decided, we have moved those projects to OpenBridge, 2D plans and digital twin creation. We plan for a phase 3, and that will be more of full 3D digital twin production, where everything, eventually will not have 2D plans, but that's down the road when the industry is ready for it. All right, so everyone's been asking what we're sort of asking for deliverables in phase 2. Still going to do those 2D drawings, create your PDFs. We're still looking for that. We're now asking for a digital twin, a preliminary digital twin delivered at the same time as your PGDs, your preliminary general drawings. And then with your final submittal have a final digital twin with your sealed set. All right, so level of detail or level of design. This kind of goes to a term used in the BIM process, and it's the amount of detailing or precision required to match the intent of the digital twin. We're expecting to do a level of detail 300, which is more of shells. All right, so LOD 300 for your deck elements. Make sure you have the correct barrier rail type and height, sidewalk height, width. Your deck out to out width is correct. Your clear roadway width is correct. You have the correct super elevation with slopes, correct slab depth, haunch or build up thicknesses. Your deck elevations are correct. You've started and ended at the correct stations, and you've used the correct levels, features, and materials. For superstructure, make sure you've used the correct section for girders, their correct lengths, levels, features, materials. Similar with the bearings. You got them in the right location. You've used the right type. You know they're the correct height, and you've used the levels, features, and materials that are correct for those. Substructure, sort of the same. Invents, correct stations for fill faces, cap heights, widths, lengths. Those are all correct. Your elevations are correct. And usually once you've set your deck at the correct elevation, done the correct depth, selected the correct girders, put in your correct bearing heights, it should put your substructure caps at the correct elevation. Make sure we're choosing the correct foundation types, spacing, lengths, locations, and again, levels, features, and materials. And those are all important. I keep repeating levels, features, and materials. Bentley in Open Bridge has a reporting tool now that we can actually quickly, if we've assigned the correct levels and features and materials, we can extract reports and get useful information now. All right, vents, same. Make sure your support stations are correct, matching your design. Your cap widths, height, length are all correct, matching the design. Your cap elevations, foundation types, spacing, lengths and locations, and again, levels, features, and materials. So I can't stress enough, make sure your levels, features, and materials are correct. All right, so moving over and doing 2D plans, a big change from the V8 workspace to Open Bridge workspace is we're no longer using the scale setting tool that we had in V8. So in V8, what you were doing is you were always at 1-to-1 drawing scale, and you were using this tool to basically scale your plan sheets and your text on that 1-to-1 drawing scale. We are now going to use the drawing scales and annotation in Open Bridge. And we're doing that more for when we move to using our digital twin to slice it and create our plan sheets from there. That annotation and drawing scales will become more important. All right, I've got a little demonstration here of how you would place your plan sheet. So it's no longer, like I said, through that tool. You're now going to place it as a cell and then change your drawing scale. If I can get this to work. So what I've done there is I've just selected the plan sheet cell. As you can see, I zoomed in. You've already drawn your drawing. So now you need to set that drawing scale to get your plan sheet around your drawing. So you just kind of would adjust the drawing scale until that plan sheet sits around what you've drawn. And this one's already been done before, as you could tell, because there's already text here, which is annotated, scaled with the drawing scale. So normally you would do your drawing, then you would place your plan sheet, adjust your drawing scale to fit around what you've drawn, and then you would place your text and dimensions. There I kind of cheated because I've already drawn it before. I was just trying to show how you'd place the border now. All right, so we are still working on OpenBridge, the workspace for the department, and there's still some sort of potential workflow changes that could happen in the near future. So currently, roadway comes up with alignment. They send it to Hydro, who kind of works on putting a bridge in there that they would tell us the span lengths and where we could put foundations, right? And then they send us the BSR or CSR to work on our structures plans. Potential change is to help hydraulics out. Roadway will make an alignment. They could potentially send it to structures to then create a preliminary digital twin to send to hydraulics to use to create their BSR and CSR. And then it would come back to us when it was finalized to finish the digital twin to get to that final stage. All right, future developments. We're hoping to change the workflow on how we would actually draft our plans. Currently, we're doing 2D plans, and in parallel, we're doing a digital twin. The goal is to make it so we would do the digital twin first, use the tools in OpenBridge, and cut and make our plan sheets, as you can see here on the right, start creating our plan sheets from the digital twin. All right, there are some known issues. To create an approach slab, you actually have to create a fake bridge and delete the substructure once that bridge is in there. Expansion joints, they don't have a way to put in expansion joints yet. You're going to go from basically embent 1 to embent 2 with your deck. That's going to overestimate your quantities a little bit, but it's not horrible. Dual bridges, we've been trying to work on that. If you're doing bridges that are parallel to each other on the same alignment, how are we going to handle that? So far, we've sort of asked roadway to split the alignment when you get to the bridges and have either an east and a west or a north and a south or left and a right so that we can build those bridges on the different alignments. Otherwise, the other route that we've talked about is building an offset template for the deck, and then you'd have to pick whether it was a left or a right offset and then build your bridge under it. So those are things we're still working through. In our test projects, we ran into an issue with MSE walls that apparently has to be done in ORD. So you either got to have roadway or geotechnical put that in there for you. Another issue is slope protection. So that either has to be done by roadway or hydraulics in ORD. Culverts, another big issue. Currently, the only way we know how to put a culvert in a digital twin form is to have either roadway or hydraulics create us an alignment for the stream and then use the box girder template to create an RCBC shape and run that shape on the alignment for the stream. All right, I think I get to Jeff's slides, but before I give it to Jeff here, I'm going to jump over and do something that Jeff told me not to do because I like living dangerous here. He said, don't do a live demo.
You got this. You got this.
Yeah. All right. So what's different from OpenBridge and V8? Well, it'd be that drop down here, this workflow for OpenBridge Modeler. But first I want to actually go through because the bulk of our work currently in this phase is still 2D plan production. I wanted to show how if you come here under the templates and you go under SMU, this is where you're going to start to pick your levels, right? So deck, we've put in to match CAD services sort of naming conventions. We have this is a proposed and existing, so you can do approach slabs, wearing surfaces, the deck, whether it's existing or proposed. These levels are in here now. You would select them to draw. We've got it for girders. Again, we have a lot. We reduced our number of levels, and then they asked us to come back and do existing and proposed, so we then increased it again. But depending on what you're drawing, should be under the elements, right? All right, so that's there. And then we move over to these new tools. All right, I've already built this existing bridge here. And what I was going to show real quick is how we're going to fake in an approach slab. So using the bridge wizard, I'm actually going to change this name. All right, and we would change this to just be an RC slab. I've already got an alignment in there, and I don't remember, so I have to come over here. My begin approach slab on that one, or begin support line is 2180. So I pick a station just a little shy of there. Just going to make this a 10 foot just for presentation. Right. Right, and this is where you would normally go through. And if I had girders, I would go and pick the templates. For abutments, you would come in here. We've already got some templates already established here under NCDOT. Same with here. Well, I guess we haven't done stem walls yet. You would pick an appropriate indent type. This won't matter because we're about to delete it. You would come here and pick the appropriate bents. We've already got quite a few in here. And if you develop some templates and want to share them, we're always up for sharing. We'd be glad to incorporate items. All right, where'd you go? This is that live demo that Jeff warned me about. All right, we've got our barrier rails in here, some with sidewalks, some without. We got left and right. Just pick what's correct. We're about to delete these anyhow, but I just want to show. And then you would go into this tab here, and we've actually entered materials. And if you see more that need to be added, let us know. But these all correspond to pay items. So we've connected all these. Actually, that one would be an approach slab. So I'd have to go under here and find approach slab. Girders wouldn't matter, but you'd assign the materials here. Click OK. And then it quickly puts in what you want. Again, we have to come in and delete them. So that's how we would get approach slabs in here. And then you'd have to go through, use the properties. So feature definition, it did pick approach slab. And material type, put approach slab in. You could come in here and change your offsets. You could click on the deck. And you could change the template to make the correct out to out and correct widths and actually have an approach slab. So I should have done not that barrier. I should have picked an 8-inch curb left. That's what I should have put in, right? And I can easily come down here, change that. It's actually still bridge approach slab. That's how it's paid for. So once you use these tools, there's still going to be quite a bit. You still have to come in here, and this is where we're talking about features, that bridge deck, and it's not active. I can quickly come over here. And I will set that to active. And then I can edit what was already there. There's quite a bit of things that you'd have to come in and make sure are correct. All right, reinforced deck, that's correct. The feature definition was not correct. So we come here, pick normal crown deck. Right, and then we have these quantities reports that we can use. And if we have identified everything with the correct levels and features and materials, these reports will come out pretty accurate. All right, let me go back. Reduce that down. And I'm pretty much done unless anybody has any questions. Jeff, did you want to talk about the last 3 slides?
I can certainly help with that, Nick, but fantastic job. And again, just wonderful stuff you're doing with the software. But no, we just open up in general. That slide right there that we put on all the presentations is just the point that we're trying to make. We're really trying to figure out the best ways to reach out to industry and have that collaborative work together. So we're trying to open up to figure out how we collectively do this as a larger team, not just the NCDOT staff, but all our industry partners and firms out there. So that's the main intent of that, and we'll try to keep you up to date with that web address there. And then obviously we have email addresses, and you know how to reach out to us, but we're very much looking for input and questions and guidance from the industry as well, because again, we're all learning this at the same time, so we want to all benefit from each other's work. So, but again, Nick, fantastic presentation and excellent job on the live demo for sure.
Yeah, thanks. And I would like to say I know I flew through that, and to add on to what you were saying, Jeff, again, if you have things you've developed and you want to share, please share with us. We're willing to look at them and possibly include them in our workspace.
Yeah, so I just threw the location for people to send emails. Please, if you like I said, if you have any suggestions or templates or anything like that, or just comments or questions related to structures management unit, definitely send that to that email with the subject line with structures unit, so that they know that it was question or reference to this session, and we'll definitely get back with you. Also, you can email events@nclog.com. We can also track down some stuff if you need more information or have comments for NCDOT. I did see in the chat that there was some discussion about approach slabs possibly being in the next update. I know with our roadway session yesterday, roadway unit is still in 10 or currently using 10.9. Is that the same version you guys are using, or how's the versioning work for the structures management unit for Open Bridge?
Let me check.
Yeah, and I believe the numbering is slightly different, but I'm not sure the exact for OBM or OBD. I don't know if Ethan Schwartz, I don't know if you're on or if you know that answer readily.
We are using version 10.09.00.775.
Gotcha.
That's the 10.9. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And are you guys also looking into the 10.10 update, or is there any idea on when that would be a switch or how that would be handled?
And
So usually if there is a new version out, CAD services will send it to us to start looking at, make sure our workspace is working with it. From there, we will test it, and if it works, usually we will then upgrade to that version.
Gotcha. Great.
yeah, and just to piggyback on that real quick, that's exactly where they just released the 10.10, and I know that Bentley's making a few tweaks to it as we speak. But then, yeah, CAD Services is going to start their testing, and we'll go through that process here in the weeks and months ahead.
Now you mentioned the approach subs might be on the near horizon for new updates. Is there any other items that you're looking for Bentley to add into OpenBridge Modeler and Designer?
One thing that we have asked when I was using the Bridge Wizard, you saw how I went over to the Materials tab. We have also kind of asked if they could add another tab to assign the features, because otherwise, if you use the Bridge Wizard, you have to go through and go to that properties of each element and make sure the features are correct. It would be nice to assign the features right there with the materials. That is one thing that they also see it as something that'd be nice to have. I don't know if they're going to include it or not.
We've got a question from Monty Hobbs. What is being done for sub-consultants to smoothly set up NCDOT structures workspace? Will it be a single click on the design file with the managed project wise, and the setup will be automatic? Question mark.
Yeah, so we are looking to move to ProjectWise and have a managed workspace, and that will be in the future how you would get our workspace. So I guess as long as the subs were assigned to the project in SharePoint and ProjectWise, everybody should have access and would have our workspace.
Okay. We got a question. Can you please elaborate on what levels of detail 300 means, and are there other states using different levels of detail, or are the levels of detail possible in the program? Are other levels of detail possible in the program?
So I'm gonna go back to this slide here. Level of detail 300 is we're kind of looking for shells that are accurate as far as you've got the right size and shape, the location and orientation. As far as I'm aware, there's only a handful of states that are actually doing more than this level of detail, and that's because they actually are using the digital twin as their final deliverable to the contractors. We are not there yet, so we're not asking for any rebar or pre-stressing steel to be in there. We do not expect contractors or any of the fabricators to be using these digital twins to develop or create any of the elements that would go on the bridge. Right now, we're using this digital twin for information purposes only. Currently, we would only be for in-house and interdiscipline sharing. So, like I said, we might change our workflow so that structures would set up the digital twin and send it to hydraulics to use to make sure that they are accurately modeling the hydraulic flow and openings and that. Yeah, so level of 300 is really just more of a shell, and we want to make sure that we are using the correct sizes and shapes and assigning the correct features and materials, and then that our elevations are correct. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, that's good. Looks like Jason Moore added a link to kind of more describing the different levels of LOD. So feel free to jump in and look at that. All right, do we have any other questions? If we have anybody that wants to actually verbally ask a question, you're welcome to do so. Or just type it into the chat box. We can talk about it. Got a little bit more time here. So I'll ask a question once people are thinking of their questions. What major hiccups are you guys running into when it comes to using this digital twin to make plan sheets? I know they're with the new updates, we're updating how we do annotations, but is there any other things that you guys are running into as you kind of take that digital twin into sheeting?
Okay, let me see again. Let me in that. Share this. So we've actually started working on these tools, and it will, if you slice the bridge, it will kind of throw it over here, and we run into issues like this where maybe you've cut it in the wrong section, or sometimes this view actually comes in way over here, and you've got to try and figure out how to move it to the plan sheet. We also are working to try and get it, and we're waiting until we can get the managed workspace in ProjectWise so that it'll fill in all of this information here on your title block for you. So we're looking to set that all up. So those are the little issues we've been having. Mainly, we have to get used to using the tools. So I think I made that cut, and then I also went back and then worked on this one just to have something that was visible. It's just a new workflow, something new. People are going to have to get used to it. And we're hoping once we actually get it up and running that it would be more productive than doing two sort of parallel workflows, right? 2D plans and this digital twin. So if we can just create the digital twin and then cut it, because once these are sliced here, if we start making any changes to the digital twin back in the model space, this should all update. So that's the goal.
Great. I have a request to see those the timelines for your phase 1, phase 2 again.
Yeah, sure.
Pull that slide up.
Yeah. And again, we started in January mainly because we had Jeff telling us July 1, July 1, July 1. So we wanted to make sure that we were ready.
So is that an internal, what have you been requesting from the PEFs on their designs and stuff? Is that the same?
It should be everyone that has a project that's not very far along or is starting a new project will probably have David Stutz's group asking to move over to OpenBridge if they haven't already. We're trying to get everybody into it, figure these things out. That's why we're asking for, if you've created a great template and you want to share it, send it our way.
One thing that I guess the more of the roadway side has been looking into is whether or not to take a project. I know you have the existing projects less than 75% complete, pretty much assessing the project with Jeff and seeing if it makes sense to convert. Have you had any experience with having a current design and adding the digital twin to the workflow for any projects, or are you more of just if it's at a certain place, we'll go ahead and start it in OpenBridge, open modeling?
So we've had some that we continued in 2D, but we did the final plan sheets in OpenBridge instead of finishing it in V8. And again, we were still in sort of phase 1, but we had talked about how are we getting people over to use it, because if you don't move people into it, they're going to continue using what they're comfortable with. We wanted them to realize that if you're just doing 2D workflow, OpenBridge Designer or Modeler, it's the same as V8. It's the same MicroStation. The only thing that's changed is we got rid of those tools for placing plan sheets and notes and all that. It's now done a little bit different, but it's all still the same.
Sure.
And I don't think, well, we have a couple of projects that we are actually converting to make the digital twin. These projects have actually already been let, and we're starting to work on the digital twins for them in-house, just to have. I don't know if anybody has created a digital twin for anything that was around the 75% mark or not. It's pretty much everything that kind of was put on hold for a while, and we picked back up, and are, let's just say, probably more like 25% complete so far. Those projects we're going to have in-house at least create the digital twin along with the 2D plans.
So I got a couple of questions for you, Nick, that just came in.
Sure.
You mentioned that roadway and geotechnical or hydraulics would now need to do the MSE walls and slope protection, since it currently can't be done in open bridge. Is that something that structures would then do an open roads designer to do the slope protection and MSE wall, or would how are you guys kind of treating that right now?
Right now, we've just kind of asked the other units to put it in there. If we need to do the 2D plans to help out with that, we can do that, but we're trying not to play in the ORD sandbox.
Sure.
Yeah, consultants are a lot different now. I think that's why Dean was bringing that up. There's a few of us out there that's done structures and roadways, so we can work. And I know NCDOT is not like that, but in the consulting world, there's a few of us that have done both roadway and structures.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to, if you know how to do it, go ahead and do it. We've actually, not all of our computers have ORD on it.
Gotcha.
That too. That too.
Yeah. With talking with Bentley, do you think that would eventually become something that's part of Open Bridge Modeler and Designer, the MSE wall and slope protection?
I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah.
We've gotten several different messages.
Gotcha.
Now, a lot of the ORD tools are in Open Bridge Designer, right?
There are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have one clarification question. I know that you guys are referring to with the structured managed unit, but what about division projects? Are those switching from switching to OBM and OBD as well?
Jeff, do you want to answer that one? I know we've had quite a few projects from the divisions. They were actually more of the first to jump on that boat to switch, right?
Yeah, that they are in that same process. So each of the 14 divisions is taking on the transition to ORD, OBD, OBM. It roughly the same pace, but we're trying to work very closely with each of the divisions on that. And we can talk a little bit more about that actually on Friday when we have Michael Trotter present from his division standpoint. But yeah, they are working towards the same end goal.
Gotcha. Another question, is there any issues transferring data from Modeler to the Leap Bridge concrete design software?
So we have not run into any yet, but we've also not really done anything complicated structure-wise in Open Bridge yet. All of our test projects have been, I think, at the max 4-span tangent, so no problems yet. If you guys are running into problems out there, please let us know what they are, so we can work with Bentley to address.
Gotcha. Another question we've got is bridge preservation projects going to OBD and when?
Yes, as of July 1st.
Okay.
And we're actually considering having digital twins created for those projects as well.
I have another question also. Can you not fake an MSE wall with a wing wall at the abutment. So similar to the approach slab, faking the approach slab in, is an MSE wall able to be faked in using a wing wall at the abutment?
So you could fake, and I think Oak had tried to convince us to do that on one of our test projects. You can use an abutment and sort of fake it in the place. But again, you'd have to trying to think of how you'd almost have to have an additional span because it tries to put in a support line everywhere that a substructure unit is. So you'd almost have this mini span from your actual indent to that abutment. That's the only way I can think of doing it, is
Okay.
to use an abutment. If you guys figure out a way, let us know. Again, it's all sort of new.
Right.
I'm sure Bentley will come up with a way to do that in the future. I'm sure they're working on it.
I'll be sure to tell Bentley that I'm sure that they're working on it. That'd be my plan.
They should be, because every bridge has wing walls and walls.
No, I know.
Protection.
And slope protection.
Right, slope protection.
Right. Well, if there's anyone else has any questions, go ahead and feel free to chime in. We're coming towards the end, but we still have a little bit more time. Does anybody else have any questions?
Let's see. Oak doesn't like fakes. So.
Yeah.
uh,
So it sounds like we'll have a little bit of coordination between roadway and hydraulics and structures on when it comes to walls and slope protection.
In all fairness, it was air quotes fake, so temporary. We can find some other terms. So.
Yeah, temporary is good. Yeah,
temporary model or temporary.
But all that just brings up a good point, that everything's connected now. It's no longer individual units, individual projects. I mean, hydraulics has got to work for structure for roadway, vice versa. Survey. So everything's connected now.
Yep, and we have to use correct file names so that we all know which. There's a lot of referencing going on now that there wasn't in the past.
Right.
Because we're all pulling each other's models back into ours.
Right. But this structure brings up a really good example of that, of how everybody's working together. For structures was an independent unit before. You just kind of got alignment and basically a preliminary structure span layout, and you pretty much did the bridge in house in your own department. Very little input from the rest of the units. Now all that's changed. Even in your new workflow, you was talking about where structures may be doing the layout first. And I was going to ask, in preliminary design, is that something structures doing in preliminary design, or is other units doing that? Like for concept and using a bridge wizard to do a concept or preliminary layout.
It's probably going to be more of a conversation with hydro and roadway now.
Right.
I have one question. Someone I think missed conversation, but will OBD workspace be managed through ProjectWise? I think you guys said that you were headed to ProjectWise, but that's
yes. Our workspace will be through ProjectWise as a managed workspace.
We've got another question. It does not appear that this new software allows finite element analysis. Is that correct?
So let me live dangerous again.
Go for it, Nick.
All right. So if you're over here and you've created your file in OpenBridge, which I thought I had that open. All right. So there's actually in OpenBridge Designer, there's two workflows. There's a BIM workflow, which the way Bentley has described it to us, this BIM workflow just creates drawings and models that are not connected to anything. You'll notice that the analysis tool is grayed out. If you come over here under standalone, if I had a project created here, I now have this analysis tool available, and that's where I can get to leap steel, leap concrete, and RM bridge. And if we create the model in this workflow, if I was back here and I had created the model that I have open, in this workflow, I can actually then take that model and send all the data from it over to these analysis programs. So if I was looking at, let's just say the substructure, if I opened Leap Bridge and went into RC Pier, all that information I have back here in my templates that I've selected, that's going to come into RC Pier now. And I can use that to then design that vent, and I can then save it and forward it back into this model. So if something changed, like I need a deeper cap or a wider cap, or I needed more columns, all of that can be fed back into this model. And where are those tools at? Yeah, so I can transfer this information from here back and forth. So I hope I've answered that question.
All right. I think we will wrap up here. If you have any other questions, feel free to send that to that email for NCDOT to field that, or with Vince at NCLog. Yeah, I think he's pulling it up. Yep, there's your contact information. So feel free to reach out to those places to kind of get that conversation going, or to share information that you guys have. So just a reminder, NCLog will send out PDH credits at soon to attendees that register for this. We won't be sending out anyone that use them later on. Stay tuned for the next presentation. It's going to be OpenX Geotech. That's going to be at 12. Be sure to join us on Friday afternoon for a QA wrap-up session. Let's see. If you have any suggestions for future NCLog topics or questions for NCLog, definitely reach out to us at events@nclog.com. Be sure to tell others about NCLog. It's free, and they can get invites and reminders for future events. I'm sure we'll be continuing the training as this next year or two continues. We'll have plenty of opportunities for training with open roads and open bridge modeling. Unless there's anything else, Jeff, you have anything to add before we sign off?
No, I just wanted to thank Nick again, and certainly thank you to NCLug for helping out this week. But no, we're getting there collectively. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.